understand completely. There are certain sentences I'll tell you straightforward, I just don't understand what he's saying, or it's bewildering. Like, why does he say it in this way? So let's go for it. It's a couple of paragraphs to the end of this chapter. Maybe that's what we'll do tonight. And we'll go slowly, and you'll be able to help me. We'll help each other. We'll learn it together.
So
we're on page 90.
Page 90 in this copy.
Yeah.
In the chapter, the human image.
Right. So let's finish this chapter tonight. Let's just do this and discuss it. It's not so long, but there are certain things here. So since, like his soul, the body of man is oriented to higher essences, the idiom of the Kabbalah often makes use of organs of the body to depict conditions and higher relations in other worlds. In practical Kabbalistic works, there are to be found indications of various, sometimes impossible movements of the limbs. Talking about predictable, right, and boring. So it's sometimes impossible movements of the limbs and parts of the body, which serve to shed light on the complex occult ways of the chariot on different planes and in different worlds. Well, that part is pretty simple. Yeah, that part. Hi, Leslie.
Leslie's here.
Hi, Leslie.
Hi, Leslie.
Hey. Hi, guys. Sorry. Late.
Don't be sorry.
We're happy you're here. Okay. We're in the human image. If you're in the cream colored book with the rose petals, it's on page 90.
What were you saying? What were you saying, Arthur?
Wondering which Kabbalistic books describe impossible movements of limbs.
I think if you go into the Zohar and you go to the more say for Yetzirah, I think, and they talk about, but I don't understand why, to tell you the truth, that's what he's talking about. But you don't have to go so far to find, but they're not talking about human bodies. My father always used to have fun with those haftorahs that talk about like the visions of the chariots. He's like, Shmuel, you got to read this in English. I mean, if that's not Star Wars, what is? It's like, these angels with these 6 eyes going this and that, and different things, and it has to do with what we're talking about here. These explanations, and it's very interesting what he's saying. If you think about it, Rabbi Steinsaltz is saying here, and what he's explaining and describing, is that it goes both ways. On the one hand, there is no other way to describe, in order for us to understand what these visions, what these prophets saw. They had no other way other than to express it in terms of the human body, so that we can understand even God, the face of God, the hand of God, because we wouldn't understand these concepts if we didn't use this terminology. But it goes to what he's doing here, and he's saying something very important. He's saying it goes the opposite direction as well. It means that what is going on down here is a reflection. It's not so. The limbs and the organs do symbolize certain things, so that when the Kabbalah is describing different types of spiritual concepts, it's going to it comes out weird, but the body represents it in the best possible way. Is that understood? So it's a two-way street. It's a two-way street with this imagery. I just want to, before we go on, because he's gonna circle back to what we started off with, I just want to remind everybody of his original question, which I thought it was kind of cute or interesting. The Rabbi Steinsaltz presents this whole chapter within the prism of that question, but I just want to remind people of the main question that he's coming to answer, and therefore has this long explanation, and that is, how come there isn't more, or how come there was such an aversion towards usage of what did he call it, usage of pictures or figures or icons or the human body or any kind of image within the Jewish tradition, Jewish rituals and stuff like that. How come there's such an aversion? And now he's describing, he's got the deeper, he started off with a couple of reasons, and now he's continuing with this deeper reason, is because it's so close, therefore we have to be so careful. Meaning the human body is so close to the representation of what actually is happening, in one way or another, maybe not the movements themselves, because once you start getting into the deeper symbolism, the Kabbalah will describe different things with crazy type of notions, like impossible physical ways of using that organ, but whatever. But it's describing and symbolizing something, and it's so close to what it really is. Therefore, we have to stay away from the imagery. It's a dangerous fine line type of thing. I just wanted to remind everybody about that because he's going to go back to that now. So let's go on with the second paragraph. And has been said, precisely because there is such a voluminous and frequent use of symbolic structures and models, most of them connect with external forms. This is exactly what I was saying, right? It is necessary to be extremely cautious about any attempt to give a concrete physical interpretation to higher essences, right? It's better the language we can use, but to start forming it in actual, with forms, that's already dangerous. Because then you're gonna, like we said before, because like he says here, because there's such a frequent use of symbolic structures, therefore we have to keep it in the symbolism and not concretize it and freeze it so that it becomes a thing in itself, because it's just a symbol, but it's a real symbol that's reflecting something real. Is that understood? Kind of? And I'm saying, okay. What he's saying?
The truth is, can I ask you something?
Good, right.
You can take a drink. I mean, which direction is it? I mean, I remember learning in seminary, like, why do we have hands? The Rebbe was like, why do we have hands? Because it represents how Hashem has impresses himself on the world, right? That like everything we have in this world is really only like, my hand is the symbol of the abstraction.
Yes.
Not that the abstract idea is using my hand as a symbol to express. Am I making sense?
Yes, it's very much. You make a lot of sense. You're basically.
I think Rev Steinsaltz himself actually said that once. I forget where, but he said, like as far as anthropomorphisms.
Yes.
And I think he said, maybe that is to be understood literally, but then we're the
center.
How do you say? Well, I don't think he said we're the center as much as like we're the not the abstractions, like it maybe the anthropomorphisms used to describe Hashem and divine things should be understood literally. In this case, we're the allegory.
Yes, thank you.
I think that's where I forget where. It may have been in
Arthur. Does that ring a bell?
Doesn't
Okay. Okay, maybe it's over here because he goes into that even a little bit more.
I'm the allegory.
Right. Now he goes a little bit more practical. From all of which it may be understood why, in actual fact, there is no Jewish iconography to speak of. True, in the Holy Temple there were a few symbolic elements, not images of the Holy One, blessed be He, about the Kruvim who bear the chariot. Even these symbols were hidden away in the inner recesses of the temple so that they should not become part of the ritual. For it has often happened in history that things once having no more than a symbolic or reminiscence value have been turned into ritual objects or idolatrous worship. It's a fine line here. That is why throughout the generations, Jewish tradition has stringently resisted anything like defined iconographic imagery. Okay, right. Instead, this is a sentence that your guys are going to have to help me out with. Arthur, please help me out here, because this is a sentence that just like blew me out of the water, and I would love to ask him why he wrote the sentence in this way. Instead, the tradition developed the whole order of mitzvot. The tradition developed the whole order of mitzvot, which may be seen as a stylization of a system of pictures and symbols using the body and mind of man.
Oh, so I think that's exactly what it's saying. Is that saying we're the allegory?
Yes, but what do you mean the tradition developed the whole order of mitzvot? Wouldn't you think it's God gave us mitzvot in order for man to be able to symbolize, to give him a system, a stylization of a system, a picture and symbols using the body and mind of man?
Yeah, it sounds like a radical comment.
Yes.
Reinvented the mitzvot.
Or the tradition throughout the generations developed the mitzvot. Yes.
When he said mitzvot in that context, is that, I assume that's a reference to halacha as opposed to the Taryag mitzvot d'oraita.
Which
I
which
wrong?
one is how's
is this?
one?
Well, when he said the
traditional
mitzvot often, I mean, I think usually refer to like Taryaga mitzvot, from the Torah, from Hashem.
Yeah,
But I think, the tradition developed. That's probably like halacha, the way Chazal instituted things, etc. If he means mitzvot, it seems hard to understand because that's implying that it was developed as opposed to Misinai.
I agree. Maybe we have to put the emphasis on the whole order of mitzvot, which goes a little bit more according to what you're saying, Ari, which is the everything around it and surrounding and added and enhanced.
Also, this is a translation from the Hebrew original, right?
No, I think he wrote this in English.
Oh, really?
No,
Oh, okay.
no.
Oh, he wrote it in Hebrew,
But in
Oh,
Hebrew
oh.
and Yehuda Hanegbi.
but it was
Yeah,
published.
'cause-
It was
yeah.
published in English before it was published in Hebrew.
Okay, but Yehuda Hanegbi did the translation, so that's why.
Yeah, he often did. So to
I have
see
to look at
what
the
Rav
Hebrew
Stein,
then.
to see what Rav Steinsaltz himself said, just in case it's a mistranslation or something.
I'm gonna have to look at what he's trying to say. Yeah, it's a good point. And I thought I have the Hebrew somewhere here. I might have the Hebrew downstairs.
This paragraph's insane.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a hard paragraph. I couldn't understand it. So I have to look at the Hebrew and then I have to look at it again. So let's go on. For in a certain sense, the mitzvot, in all their minutia, constitute an endless moving series of images depicting a vision of supreme revelation. So we are basically it's like a dance, like he's described before, right? And the director is saying, do this, so it's everything fits into each other, and that is revealing something that is supreme. These images are expressed in the objective. Here, this is a sentence I just don't understand. I'm sorry. We need my wife, who understands English better than I do.
I don't know, don't count on me.
These images are expressed in the objective actions, but are not to be identified with them.
Because they're just symbolic. Keep going.
And if the action is a correct action in terms of the original revelation, then it will have significance within other systems of reality.
Yeah. Hold on.
I understand the second part of the sentence, I think. The second part of the sentence he's saying is what we've been saying all along, is when you put things in its right place, right? Then they will have, they will affect, when things are put into place, the machine works on all levels. It has impact. It's able to impact. But these images are expressed in the objective actions, but are not to be identified with them.
And so the actions occur, the mitzvot, we do the mitzvot, and there's specific concrete actions, but we shouldn't be fooled into thinking that it's any more than symbolic.
Right, a symbolic expression of
Supreme,
God's will.
supreme revelation.
and God's will. Yeah. We need to get Avner here.
Yeah.
Or maybe it has to do with what the mitzvot, like that there's a deeper spiritual reason behind the mitzvot, like putting on tefillin, that's halacha, that's a mitzvah, but at the same time, what's it representative of? What are those?
Yeah.
What does it symbolize? And maybe that's the
That's
higher
what,
level.
that's what Esther and Arthur are saying. But I'm just really trying to figure out, is he saying something else here as well?
A sentence or two later, he says, precisely because the whole world is so full of symbols and meanings, pictures and forms, there's a repudiation of any attempt to make any one special image. We shouldn't fool ourselves into thinking that these symbolic gestures or other symbols are to be taken literally. When he says that the relation between the right hand and the left hand is profound, we shouldn't get caught up in thinking that it has to do with the right and left hand. It has to do with so much in life.
Right. For the existing reality is itself so entirely made up of and by one single organized picture. So my right hand doing something is connected in the big picture to anything that the right hand or the rightness of a hand represents in the world. He's going to say that in a different way very soon. He's going to say that he's going to give an example, for instance, of Tiferet, which we just got through yesterday, of Tiferet Shabiyasod, right? This concept of Tiferet has many different words to describe what Tiferet is. Mm-hmm. So it's you could be talking about a certain thing, but it depends which level you're at. And within the whole picture, the symbolism is much greater and fits into a greater picture than what you're doing at that time.
Yeah.
So the symbolism is not necessarily connected. Don't connect it too specifically to the act because it belongs to a greater picture. It's just one of many.
It's kind of like those pieces of art that are made up of many, many, many little smaller pictures. You know, it's not, I think what it's saying is that it's not, if you look at just one of the little pictures, you won't really see anything. You have to look at the whole thing together.
But at the same time, you're gonna categorize certain things in their category, but all of them will belong to that category, and all of them are symbols of everything that falls under the category still belongs to that category. For instance, there's still going to be a difference between the right and the left, but there's so many things that are going to be in the world that represent the right, and one of them is doing something with your right hand. But it falls under the concept of also kindness, also giving, and also.
So with what Kelly's saying though is that whatever, if you look at one of those paintings, yes, there's a lot of different images that make up the left eye, but they're still all part of the left eye.
Right.
So and whereas there's all different kinds of facets of and differences between the images that make up the right eye, but they're all still somehow fundamental.
Well, he gets into it like 2 paragraphs later. He starts talking about, for instance, even the Kabbalah will start talking about what the different colors represent. So if you start thinking about colors, you're going to have something called red, but within red, like we know, Rabbi Shandlis once said that all of modern technology has come about only to explain Kabbalah. I remember him saying it was a Shavuos night, and he said that line, and then he looked up, and with his he breathes into it, like he takes a breath, and he says, just look at this fluorescent light. We had fluorescent lights in the yeshiva. That's why all of us are going blind today, because it's very bad to read with fluorescent. And he explained why at that time also, because do you know how fluorescent light works? He said fluorescent light works by somehow pushing energy from one to the other. It's a constant movement, right, of light. It's not a static light. And if you slow it down, really, it's going dark and light all the time, and you don't even realize it. But your eyes are getting tired because they've done research. Your eyes grow, and at every millisecond, it's going up and down, up and down. It's not good. It's not good. But he said the whole idea of fluorescent light has come to teach us what is Ratzov V'Shov, what is running towards and running back. And by running back and forth, we create light. He said that's why fluorescent light was invented in order to explain this. So all these pixels, like you're saying, Kelly, and that's what I was going with, and he's going to say this. This is not Shmuel Greene talking. I hope this is it is connect what he's trying to say, but bear with me for a second because I'm developing this thought. But all these pixels, you make a thing, even the most basic program of making flyers, right? That you want to choose the color. They give you like this color palette, right? And there's different types of color palettes. There's one that basic colors that they can give you, but then there's one that gives you a whole color and you put your little dots. But there is going to be this shade of red, but within the shade of red, there are like millions, if not millions of different shades, but they're still called red. But it's just where are you up to with the red? So that's the point of like red equals severity, but where are you up to And there's so many different like parts. So like the right hand, it's like, yes, but don't, I guess that's what he's saying. One of the parts that he's saying is don't associate complete, symbolism with it's just a part of something greater, of the rightness of the world, of that power.
The relation on this tree of life, the relationship between the sphirot, you have a bunch of pairs there. Now the relationship between right and left is that right is dominant over left. I mean, generally speaking. And in the same way, the chesed is dominant over gevura. If you should put a little extra dose of chesed into the situation.
Right. But the question would be that I'm asking is, and this is what he's trying, one of the things you get to when you talk about the pixels is, at what point does it change from right to left? At what point is it at, like, if you could get to like the minuscule like measurement, at what point have you shifted from left to right? At what point in the middle is it now left?
What's the middle?
What's the middle? How do you define the middle? And so you have shades of different things. Okay, so let's try to go on over here. Told you I didn't understand. I'm going on with the reading. This grasp of symbols then applies not only to the human figure, but to every reality in the world. To those who know this meaning, reality is more clear and comprehensible, and I would say even more exciting. Becomes like sharp, right? There's so many, you just become aware of, right? Thus, for instance, there is significance to the various colors and their relationships, each one expressing a certain sphera, fruits and flowers, kinds of living creatures, forms of vegetable life and minerals, all of individual meaning, and at the same time make up a great unified system in which the whole of reality acts and is acted upon. And this is the vast picture, the great work of plastic art of a moment in time. Talk about like
it's so powerful.
Idach Zil Gemar.
What does that mean?
That means now go and learn. Like now I'm like start like here throwing a whole bunch of things at you, or this big bombastic beautiful sentence, and now it's up to you to unpack for the rest of your life. But again, let's just take one step at a time here. He's answering the question, how come we don't make figures and forms, right, in reality? Because life itself is one big picture. And to take it and make it into something static, you'll lose whatever we're talking about over here. That's the danger. So he goes on. In Jewish thought, the concept of beauty is linked to the central sphera of Tiferet, which in itself is actually an expression of several basic elements of existence, each of them manifesting the same fundamental quality in different ways, such as truth, Torah, beauty, compassion. The common denominator may be seen as harmony. And since this apprehension of harmony is so many-sided and variegated, it cannot be reduced to only one aesthetic meaning. Even in the Hebrew language, there is a constant interchange of substitution between the concepts of the good and the good being called beautiful and the beautiful good, because both are grasped as harmony between things. Tiferet is thus the basis of the good, the beautiful, and the true, without ever being manifested or capable of being directly expressed in an image. What did he just say? Why did he go here with the Tiferet thing?
Well, I guess, is it because the Tiferet is the thin line?
But going back to the question that he's asking, this is the ultimate answer to the question that he asked. You have to put it in that context, and that's why it's genius of how he created and is teaching this whole concept of human image through that question. which seemingly was, like I said at the beginning last week, was seemingly like a little bit of a kunz, a trick to be able to go into this whole discussion of the human image. But it truly is the foundation of the truth. It's the best way to approach this issue, because this is what we're talking about. Why do you want to create a human image? Why would you want to create a human image? Why would you want to create any image? Why would you want to create any art? Because there is going to be the concept of beauty. You're trying to show something beautiful,
Which is a deep expression of something.
which is a deep right. You're trying, and I'm not saying necessarily beautiful in the way we understand something that's beautiful. It could be a picture of an ugly person or a picture of an ugly thing, but it's a work of beauty. And that's what it's going to be called. That's what makes what
Good and beautiful.
good and beautiful. That's why, my pictures of stick figures, that's all I can do, is not going to be put into the museum. But somebody who creates a sense of a picture of something of beauty, whatever they're creating, is going to be put in the museum. And there's Rabbi Shmuel is saying, but real beauty in Judaism cannot be put into an image, cannot be made into image, because it's so
Plastic.
many-sided and variegated. So therefore cannot be reduced to only one aesthetic meaning. That's part of his answer.
It's kind of
To the
like
original
taking
question.
a beautiful butterfly and putting it in, killing it and pinning it within a box frame.
But
It's like you think you've captured the beauty, but really in essence you've frozen it, so you've lost something
Right.
fundamental about it.
right.
Yeah.
It
Although
definitely-
there is a bracha to recite when you see something beautiful. Shakach lo be'olamo, right?
so what?
When you see something beautiful,
What is it?
or like a certain beautiful trees or fields or people,
Yes.
there's a bracha, like, because there's also a bracha when you say something strange of Mishaneh Habriot,
Yeah, that's different.
right? But
That's
then
different.
there's also one for when you see something exceptionally beautiful.
Right.
I don't think I've ever said that bracha, because I don't know if it would be a bracha levatala or not, but there is such a bracha.
Right.
I think it's a shakacha lo be'olamo, I think. It may be another one. I think the Art School Siddur has it if you want to look it up quickly. But the point is, it says when you see something beautiful, like exceptionally beautiful people or trees, like I don't know how to determine that, but the fact that there is such a bracha indicates that there is something to physical beauty.
Yes. But what Rabbi Steinsaltz is trying to say, that real beauty is always going to be multifaceted, and when you make it to one facet, it's not real beauty anymore.
Did anyone happen to ever see? It happened to come up again on a lot of Chabad media this week, when the Malkat Yofi from Israel, Miss Israel from 1991 or something, came to see the Rebbe for dollars. Did anyone see this clip?
Yes.
She's very physically beautiful, right? And
Yes.
she said, "Hi, I'm Miss Israel. Can I have a blessing for me and my family, for health and happiness and all that?" And he gives her, he says, for this and for all the other young ladies, who you're competing with, in Israel. And then she brings her back, and he says something like, Sheker, it says in, Mishlei, Sheker HaChaim, right? And he says, because what's really beautiful about a Jewish woman is her real beauty is her mitzvot and her good actions, right? But the thing is that I think the Rebbe is kind of saying here is that when you take beauty and you only have one simple, straightforward facet, you look at it that way, it ceases to be alive, it ceases to have movement, it ceases to be plastic, moldable, or it's kind of plastic in the sense that it always will disappear and sag or whatever and wrinkle, but that we don't want to freeze any. We don't want to risk the risks of freezing any of these things takes away its life, and therefore it's
Exactly.
real beauty.
Exactly.
Is that what we're going for?
Yes,
here?
but he's answered yes, and that's why yes. And now, if you understand this paragraph, because you can understand this paragraph, you're like, why is he talking about? Is this an example of what he just said before? That's the way I first understood this paragraph. That he was going into the eret because he's just going to be an example of what he just said before. I'm talking. Here's a good example. But no, now if you read it, you understand he's now at the end of the day, at the end of the chapter, answering the original question, which is how come we don't make a thing of beauty that is just one dimensional?
Why don't we freeze the symbolism and appreciate it in its
Because
first
that's
beauty?
not beauty.
That's not
And
beauty.
that's what the Kabbalah is trying to say. That's all this is to describe the human image, but the human image is made up of organs, limbs, actions, and its symbolism, all at the same time. Symbolism within the whole context of the whole world and its effect and its impact. That, all of that is beauty, all at the same time. And that, once you start cutting it down and making it one-dimensional, right?
One component, yeah, just
One component, then you're losing the concept of from the get-go of what we call beauty. So let's read this again now with the way of thinking of like that. Let's read this paragraph again. In Jewish thought, because this is the ultimate answer to his original question, the concept of beauty is linked to the central sphere of Tiferet, which in itself is actually an expression of several basic elements of existence, each of them manifesting the same fundamental quality in different ways. Same fundamental quality in different ways, such as truth, Torah, beauty, compassion. All of these things are also like before. They are worlds in themselves, but at the same time, each of them is describing another aspect of beauty, another aspect of Tiferet. Beauty is one of them. Right? Torah is huge. Truth is huge, but the fundamental quality of truth is what we call Tiferet.
So if we define in a sculpture, we take the idea of compassion and we make a beautiful sculpture. Give me a person in our history where we associate with compassion.
Yaakov.
Okay,
That's
Yaakov.
Yaakov. For
I'm
some reason,
picturing,
Yaakov.
I don't, no, I'm trying to think of, I don't know, Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev, right?
Okay.
All right, we take a sculpture of him and we tie it with that concept of compassion. But the truth is that what he's saying here is that then it's no longer many-sided and variegated, because I'm getting back to the same thing that I said before, but I'm understanding it more clearly. He doesn't want to freeze these ideas, so that the Torah wouldn't say that there's one approach to the idea of compassion either. And if we freeze it in an image, then we also freeze our understanding of what compassion is. Whereas everything in Torah, one thing, feeding I don't know.
Well, the thing is like this.
Feeding a kitten is compassion.
The next sentence is his real answer.
Yeah.
The common denominator may be seen as harmony. How do you make a picture or a sculpture or an image of harmony? It's one of the most difficult things to do because harmony in its essence is made up of different things.
Yeah, you can't isolate it.
That's the whole point of harmony. It's many different things all at the same time, working with one another.
And constant consideration of all the other facets that
Yes.
they're coming into it. That's why we can't isolate like one, we can't take a midah or
So
one of the
real
things and say
beauty,
it's like,
real
this is-
Torah, real truth, real compassion, the common denominator between those things, they're all it's different facets of Tiferet, or symbolizing Tiferet, which is usually connected to beauty, right? But all of those things are made up of harmony, of many different things going on at the same time and working one with the other and balancing them out.
Yeah, Tiferet is essential sphere.
Yes.
So it's trying, one of its functions is to balance out right and left and top and bottom.
But like Rabbi Steinsaltz says over and over again, it's not just a combination of the two extremes. The sum is greater than the How does the sentence go?
The whole-
It's greater than the sum of its parts.
Right. The whole is greater than the sum of all of its parts.
A static
it-
image can never be sufficiently complex.
Excuse me?
A static image can never be sufficiently
Well, you
complex.
described, can it? I don't know. Sufficiently, that's the operative word here.
I mean, this is kind of like what that you might have a picture of a supermodel and she might be quite beautiful. All right. But it's the weird gap in your wife's teeth that truly makes her beautiful. Because it's the I'm really saying that seriously. I don't have a gap, but I'm saying like I'm saying it's all the multiple facets of that come together that really the complexity that make her truly, like for example, just physically beautiful.
I told this,
Plus the gap in the tooth, plus that funny laugh, plus the way she drinks her tea.
right. All of these, right,
And that-
exactly.
which is far more, variegated or, than the picture in the
Right.
magazine.
Although, I've always been curious as an aside about how Tiferet is also identified with Emet, which
Yeah.
is harmony and all that. When you think of the Kutzker and
Yes,
how extreme he was
Yes.
in pursuit of truth, and as he famously said, when you're looking for the truth, you can't avoid extremes.
Mhm.
And yet, apparently, it's identified with Tiferet, which is the harmonization.
but no, but that's perfect. You just said it though. The thing that people make a mistake about is they think that a harmony is just the middle road, the middle of the road. Rabbi Steinsaltz keeps on saying is that, and based on the Kutzker, is that a real harmony also has to include in it those extremes somehow.
Right. Well, I have the essay he wrote from years
Right.
ago. I think he compared the golden mean to the
Right.
Kutzker's horse's
Yes.
path,
Right,
Yes.
right.
but it's
Because
still
the
the
Rambam
mean.
talks
It's
about
still
the
in the middle.
golden mean, derech, right?
Such a good essay.
And the Kutzker said the middle of the road is for horses. Like in the old days, the middle of the road. Who's going the middle of the road? The horses. So the question is, how do you include? And I must say, I think Rabbi Steinsaltz was a great, example of a person who was harmonious and included in himself the different extremes at the same time as being everything all at the same time. It's one of the things that frustrated so many people that you couldn't put him into a box.
But he was the most beautiful thing I ever encountered.
So it's to be able to take all these things and again, I'm going to keep on saying it. Sorry, I'm repeating. I'm just repeating it to remind myself because I'm the dumb one. But because he's answering the question, so therefore you can't freeze it, can't make it one-dimensional. Now let's go on. Now let's read it. Even in the Hebrew language, so I'm sorry, it cannot be reduced to only one aesthetic meaning because of the many-sidedness. Even in the Hebrew language, there is a constant interchange and substitution between the concepts of the good and the beautiful, the good being called beautiful and the beautiful good, because both are grasped as a harmony between things. Yeah, what does good have to do with beautiful?
Well, it's beautiful because it's good. It's kind of like tzedakah is good, but not if you give all your money away.
Right, like Arthur gave that, when he explained on Sunday, that idea of that, what did you say? Even complete honesty could be cruel,
Right.
But this is something that we see. It's very interesting. This is not Kabbalah. This is straightforward Torah with Rashi. When Moshe Rabbeinu was born, it says, and there was light. The house was filled with light. The word was used as light. And Rashi says goodness. No, I'm sorry, the opposite. The Torah says goodness, kitov, and Rashi says there was light. Like, what's the connection between light? Why does light have to be good and good, right? So what is he saying here? Because both are grasped as a harmony between things. Both are grasped as a harmony between things. It's beautiful. Real good is a harmony, and beauty is also a harmony. It's a balance. Real good is a harmony. Both, what are both, good and beautiful, are grasped as a harmony between things with the extremes at the same time
Well,
in the good.
anytime between things means that there's more than one thing. Harmony implies that there's not one singular thing.
Right,
There's multiple things that are working together well,
right.
right? And we try so
Tifer-
therefore taking these things and concretizing them into an icon or an image or painting stops that harmony.
Right.
I mean, it flouts or it defies a basic fundamental truth how the world works.
right.
So therefore, if we're making that sculpture, making that pestle,
It cannot be good.
it's essentially saying something that isn't how the world operates. It denies the essence of what it's trying to symbolize.
Exactly.
Is that what we're going?
Exactly. In my opinion.
Or if we could be totally wrong here, but that's what we're going. That's our takeaway.
Tiferet
Maybe we'll get Uriel Segel to come and give us a guest.
and say
a guest
Shmuel,
explanation.
Shmuel,
I'm
that's
really serious.
completely,
We should
absolutely
get a
wrong.
guest speaker.
Yeah, maybe we will.
Maybe
It's
we
3 o'clock
will.
there in the morning, but he's up for
He's
sure.
always up.
Yeah.
You guys are like, honest to goodness, like the cutest couple I think I've ever ever known.
What?
Even without the gap in my teeth, I don't have a gap in my
Exactly.
teeth. Even with that. Thank you.
Awesome.
We're in our late 40s. It's been a long time someone called us cute, but thank you. I'll take it. I'll take it.
It's
I'll take anybody calling
Is
me
there
cute.
harmony? I don't even care if it's real beauty. I'll take any level of it.
Oh god. Okay. Oh, I have to share. Did you hear the story of the Rebbe? I forget who. It may have been actually. Who's the chassid you always refer to? That big Rav who drank your father under the table.
Futter Fass.
Mendel
Yeah.
Mendel Futter
Fass.
Fass.
Oh no, okay, but it actually wasn't about him. I think it was a different chassid. So never mind. That he well, the commonality is that he was well inebriated, and he was in the presence of the Rebbe after having a number of l'chaims, and he said, "You know, Rebbe, in addition to all of your numerous other great qualities, it's also good for us Chabadniks that we have such a handsome Rebbe."
Yeah.
Oh, so you know, yeah.
It's true.
Yes.
It was devastating.
And the Rebbe's response. I mean, you guys reminded me of that response.
All
So
right.
let's
I hope
last
we got-
line.
oh,
Last line.
last line.
Tiferet is thus the basis of the good, the beautiful, and the true, without ever being manifested or capable of being directly expressed in an image. It's the bottom line. That's his answer. You're looking for Tiferet, you ain't gonna get it with an image, if that's what you're after. And Tiferet is life, because it is the basis of good, beautiful, and truth.
I just have one quick question about, by the way, it's not that you're cute, it's that you're like a live example of, at least in part, what we're talking about here is just really so interesting between the two of you. But what is
I'm the good and she's the beautiful.
but I don't understand why.
And there's no truth.
Okay, go ahead.
I was gonna know, why is he? It's very interesting that he's using specifically the adjectives. He's using the words that he's using. Like, why good?
Why good? Let's go back to why good. Even in the Hebrew language, there's a constant interchange subject to the concepts of the good and the beautiful. Why did he go to good? Anybody? Why did he go to good here? It's the first time he used that word. What is he trying to say?
Harmony is good.
Where did he say that?
Well, he's saying that the common denominator of truth, Torah, beauty, compassion is harmony. And we're supposed, everything has its proper place, and we have to put everything in its proper place.
And also, I think he's asking another question within a question. He's asking a question: how come the Hebrew language has an interchange between the word of good and beautiful? Because we're talking about beauty, right? We're talking about beauty. Now, if beauty is interchanged with good, then there's got to be a connection between them. That's the answer, Leslie. And therefore, we have to understand why are they both interchangeable? Because we're coming from beauty because we want to capture the beauty, but something beautiful. That's why you're making an image. So then why does beauty have to connect? That is the question. How come the Hebrew language? And because this is what he says, because both are grasped as a harmony between things. And therefore that's described what beauty is then. And everything else that is considered that is connected to heart, something that's that has to be made up of a harmony.
So good is capturing a harmony?
Good are grasped as a harmony between things. Good is made up or grasped as a harmony between things.
I'm not so sure about that. That's true. Good is not.
Let's think of an example of anything that lacks harmony.
Well, balance captures, the essence of harmony, but like that's like saying dirty or clean captures. It doesn't.
No, clean is not a harmony. Clean is not grasped as a harmony. In fact, that's one of the things my father, Olav Shalom, dealt with. One of the things that he was trying to create in his laboratory is an absolute. My mother liked it. An absolute clean room.
Sterile.
And sterile, but clean meaning nothing else. And there is no such thing. It was practically impossible.
Are we talking like more than subatomic particles?
No, but the question is, how do you define clean?
Yeah, so that's a bad example.
Right. But
and then,
good.
And then
but
you could even say clean, we associate with clean, but too clean is that now we need to start fermenting foods and have a little bit of dirt. So our body needs that kind of harmony.
But going back to what Arthur kept, it brought that example is what, and going back to my worst question, what is good that is not made up of different things? I mean, where do you have good?
Even gold has to become a compound in some.
Well, that's
like,
not
because anything in its purest form, like, is there? I'm really trying to think of an example of
No,
anything that we consider good that lacks harmony. Is there anything in its pure form that we call good aside from Hakodesh Baruch Hu? Like,
but even he's the source. He's the source of all diversity.
Right. So, is there anything that we like that we consider good that is like totally singular and
made up of one thing?
One thing.
Well, is there anything in creation that's made up of only one thing?
What about appreciation?
Well, appreciation,
like a Hakaras Hatov?
Yeah, Hakaras Hatov is, you could argue that it's made up of different things. You have like a sense of humility. There's certain things that go into.
Right. It's a mixture. It's like a ingredients.
Yeah, there's ingredients.
The recipe.
But you could say that that's pure, like the very, very purest form is not necessarily.
But in order to have a Hakaras Hatov, at the same time, in the back of your mind, you have to have a contrast. In order to have appreciation, you have to have at least in the flip side, the dark side of the moon, right?
What if the thing that you're appreciating didn't exist?
No, but I'm saying, right, first of all. But second of all, you have to have a Hakaras Hara in order to have a Hakaras Hatov.
No, I get that, but you could say that about absolutely everything. But
that's what we're trying to say. You need a balance. I'm reminded, for some reason, I'm triggered, and I'm reminded of Rabbi Steinsaltz when he was talking at the Siyum, when he finished the Shas at the his speech at the city hall in Jerusalem, and he made a great statement. He said, Talmud teaches sanity, because you can't be an extremist when you learn Talmud. You have to be able to take in different points of view and different opinions, and that is sanity.
Right, if we define anything as good without it be requiring
balance of something,
harmonies, then also life becomes very, very flat. There's no diversity. Everyone's the same.
Well, some people would say that's good. The question is, I think the question we're asking is, how do you define good? He's defining good. I don't know, it's a definition of good, but
defining good. The truth is ultimately what he's saying here is there isn't one straight definition of good here. It's always dependent on circumstances
Right.
and what everything, and that, I mean, and if we don't do this, then it becomes that it can't be applied to every situation possibly in life.
Right, there is no such thing
So
as. right.
everything, life needs to align itself, which is considered good, and therefore it has to be multifaceted, otherwise, in order to be good, otherwise it doesn't work for this world. I don't know.
But if something ends up being good, then it's beautiful.
Yes.
So beauty and good are interchangeable.
Well, he was saying in the Hebrew language, the question is that really true? I mean, you know, this whole isn't beauty in the eyes of the beholder. At the same time, you know.
That's the point. That's the point. You just hit it. That's the whole point.
Right.
Yeah, that's the point. I mean, but if it wasn't, then there wouldn't be, it would be static. It would just
No,
be
the point
this-
is there is no good. It's not, there is no such thing as good because
And there
it's
is no such thing as beauty,
well, there-
objectively.
totally
there
dependent
is,
on.
but certain things have to, what the definition is an appropriate balanced harmony between things.
Right.
That is,
I remember
Although-
there was a Time magazine article. It was defining beauty. Remember, and they took the picture of Denzel Washington and another model, and they started showing how the symmetry of their faces, and the reason why it's just balance, and that's why a lot of people consider them to be beautiful, because there's symmetry and balance, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then add the beauty mark, the little blemish, it makes it like astounding.
So
know?
it's interesting in this sense. Good is almost, without being said, it's almost like good is contrasted with perfect,
Yes.
which it kind of makes sense because actually with you know, where do we see Tov in the Torah? The very first, you know, every day of creation, Vayar Elokim ki Tov.
Yes.
For 5 days, and only on the 6th day when creation is completed, V'hina Tov Me'od.
And what does Rashi say? And what does the Medrash say? Tov Ma'od? Death. Or the Yetzirah, another Medrash.
good is the enemy, perfect is the enemy of
Yes,
good.
Tov Ma'od, Hu Yetzirah, Hu Mavet. All right, on that note.
This is great. First of all,
This was
it's great.
good.
I'm so glad
Just
everyone joined in.
Wait,
It
just
really-
explain, what does Rashi say there?
I gotta look. I can't remember which one. What does he say, Arthur? I have to look it up. I'll get back to you next week. I think Tov Ma'od he says. I think he says Yetzirah in that one, Arthur. I think death is another Medrash. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's in the Midrash.
Right.
Especially because death wasn't brought
I
into
think
the.
it's Pirkei Avos. I think it's Pirkei Avos. I think Tov Hu Yetzer Tov Ma'od Hu Yetzer. Yeah, I gotta look it up where is it exactly. It says Tov Hu Yetzer Tov Ma'od Yetzer Hara.
I don't think it's in a vote.
That's so
Okay,
interesting.
maybe
That
I'm
doesn't
wrong.
sound
Okay.
like a vote.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong. I'm sorry. Okay.
I get to know something better than him. What, Arthur?
It's in Bereshis Rabbah.
Right. I don't remember if Rashi brings it or not.
I don't know.
I have to look it up. Okay, I'll look it up
I
right
think
now.
we can all agree that this is the most difficult chapter in the book. I
Even-
think,
Even more than the first one.
yeah, even more than the first one.
Because he's trying to describe even something even more than the angels, human beings, and he's trying to encapsulate and encompass in words
A
the
kaleidoscope.
the whole all of life. Right. All right, everybody. Thank you.
Good week.
Thank you.
Go on, Arthur. We'll talk to you. We'll see you next week, hopefully.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good week.
Bye-bye.
We
Bye.
get